So Bryan Johnson, probably everybody heard about him. He's entrepreneur and rejuvenation athlete. He's most biologically measured person in the world, and he's trying to prove that it's possible with all different interventions, from sleeping with a total score of 100% to the supplements and genetic therapies and so on, that it's possible to rejuvenate and stay young. He's leading companies Blueprint and Community Don't Die. And his ultimate cause is, as he says, to end mortality and to end personal and planetary death and build prosperity for everyone.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you.
Hi. Hi.
How's everyone doing?
Woo! Great.
It's pretty amazing to be alive, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did this thought experiment a few years ago where I sold my company, Braintree Venmo, for 800 million. I made 300 million of that. And then I had this question, what do you do with $300 million? And this had been a goal I had my entire life. So at 21, I decided that I wanted to try to spend my life doing something useful for the human race. And I didn't know what to do, and nor was I really good at anything. And so I said, okay, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, make a whole bunch of money. And then with a whole bunch of money, I'm going to try to do something interesting for humanity. And so I did that. And fortunately, it worked out. Oftentimes those kinds of things don't work out. And so I had this opportunity to try to, I don't know, think of something interesting. And so I did this thought experiment where I imagined being present in the 25th century. So a few hundred years from now, and there you are, you're, in whatever form of intelligence they are, they're talking amongst themselves and they say, we're so grateful because existence is just extraordinary. Like, this is unfathomable to any previous form of intelligence. Like, it's so neat to exist in whatever form they are. And they're reflecting to say, we're so grateful that in the early 2020s, when Homo sapiens were giving birth to superintelligence, that they did the following thing. What do they observe? What did we do, Homo sapiens, that allowed intelligence to thrive in this part of the galaxy in a time where existence is kind of perilous, where we have weapons that can destroy the human race, where we're giving birth to superintelligence, where things can go wrong? And I imagine they might say that we realized that we were at this transition moment from moving from death being inevitable to being able to extend our lifespans to some unknown horizon. Not that we had solved immortality, but that we had basically acquired the technological abilities that we could gradually begin extending our lifetimes so that death may not be inevitable. And that was the transition that allowed intelligence to thrive in this part of the galaxy. So everything I'm trying to do is really around that orientation. I talk about sleep and diet and exercise, the basics we're all familiar with, because this is the foundation for how we evolve as a species. So I'll pause there and see what you think about that.
Great. So as I understand you, you're also saying that our mindset should change how we approach, for example, entertainment and so on, that we see entertainment now in special kind of food that is not beneficial to us and so on.
Yes, exactly. I'm saying that if you look at the biggest shifts in human history, let's just say, like, if you're a human throughout time, imagine the biggest surprises you could ever encounter. Let's say that you thought the earth was flat, and now you have to reconsider that the earth is round. Let's say that you thought that, disease happened from spirits, and then you find out that germs, these little microscopic objects, are the culprit. And then you think, like, all these different iterations where, like, these mind-bending things, you have to reorient your reality. Right now, we believe death is inevitable. And when you think death is inevitable, your entire existence is justified around that. You YOLO your way to all of your behaviors, all of your goals, all of your justifications. And when death is not inevitable, it invites you to reimagine existence from scratch. And so this is a very abbreviated conversation, but I'll just say this, that don't die is not just a clever catchphrase. What it basically is a proposal on what we do as a species when we're giving birth to superintelligence. That when you're in this moment doing this, that no existing form of human thought, not in politics, not democracy, not capitalism, not Christianity, not Islam, there's no existing form of human thought that informs the human race what to do when you're giving birth to superintelligence. Don't die is.
Great, and these are very deep thoughts, because we are now in the, exactly what you say, in the age of birth of superintelligence, yeah.
Exactly, and so this is, again, I normally have this conversation in an intimate setting with about 10 to 12 people, and it takes about 2 hours to really understand the ideas. But yeah, I mean, I guess in short, like to get to some very practical things, over the past 3 years, I've tried to become the most don't die person in human history. So I hired a team of 30 medical professionals. We measured the biological age of every organ in my body. And we went through all the scientific literature, everything on health span, lifespan. We prioritized the things that have the best effect. And then we've just systematically implemented in my body and measured again and again. And so as far as I know, I have the best biomarkers of anyone in the world. Now, there's probably better people who have better biomarkers than me. They're just not measured. That's fine. But of those who are measured across the board, and so we've really shown that when I started this at the age of 43, I was really beat down. 10 years of chronic depression, a life of poor habits, of health, poor diet, poor exercise habits. So for my body to bounce back was pretty remarkable. And so, yeah, I've open sourced everything. Everything is freely available for everyone. And I think that in the next year, my prediction is in 2025 that health and anti-aging, or health and longevity and don't die, are going to be part of the global conversation.
Great, and we are all working towards it, yeah. I have also a question. When I talk about longevity with people, they have these fears about rich and poor, that only rich will have it. And you already mentioned that you're making all the data freely available to everyone. What else could you say about this fear that only rich will get longevity?
Well, I mean, look at the rich. They have infinite wealth. And let's see, Bill Gates was in Times Square this week eating a hot dog. Elon Musk is not a beacon of health, right? So like wealth, it is, people with wealth are definitely not using their wealth for health access.
Yeah, thanks. So nice reply. And we will now open the floor to the audience, to live and online audience. So we already have first questions. Please.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. Nice to have you here. We are really grateful for your presence. My name is Dr. Kalan. I'm MD, PhD, and I'm 63 years old, working as a physician in emergency unit. But my mission is to really, for the longevity, and I asked the politicians about that as well. If we live longer, we have to work longer. And the stem cells therapy is my mission in the future, also the treatment for the cancer. But I would like to hear from your perspective, what do you think about stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells therapy in terms of anti-aging and longevity? We know the local application on orthopedic field, but what about the systemic field? Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, nice to see you. My team and I, so stem cells, as you know, are among the highest ranking therapies, like in terms of effect size for acute conditions and others. So we are very interested in stem cells. We did our first bout of them. We used stem cells from Cell Code Labs out of Sweden. We chose them because they came from young Swedish bone marrow donors. We chose them because they have clinical grade GMP manufacturing. So we liked their quality controls. And they do things like right before injection, they verify the number of stem cells in that's being injected. So, but yeah, I love the fact that it's on the rise, that there's better quality controls being produced, and I hope it becomes more commonplace. I'm with you.
great, because we have GMP certified stem cells as well. I'm wondering, do you have results about the measuring? So before and after the treatment, it would be really great would be very helpful for scientific part of the society, because double-blind studies for stem cells are almost impossible to perform. So if you have good solid data, what happens in the body before and after the treatment, and yes, young stem cells are better than our own, or even for the umbilical cord, the young donors for the bone marrow, and growing up, the amount of cells works best from our perspective. So what are your results? Thank you.
Yep, we just completed an MRI. So I did 50 million mesenchymal stem cells in each of my knees and hips and shoulders. And we did a MRI of each joint as a baseline, and then we did the therapy. And I just completed my 6-month MRI scan. So we should have those results to share in the next few weeks. We'll see. They think that we should take a look in 12 months. But yes, everything we do at Blueprint, we are rigorously quantified and we share all data. So whether the therapy works, like for example, when I did the plasma transfusions, I had 6 total and we saw no effect. Not to say that maybe there was, we just couldn't capture it in our measurement systems, but we definitely don't cherry pick data. If the therapy works, we share. If it doesn't work, we also share. So that will be coming out. We'll see if that has any effect. And to be clear, I did this not from a place of a deficit. Like I have typical wear and tear of a 47-year-old that's been pretty active in life. So we weren't after some egregious thing, but we're still after like all the degradation that's happened. So it's a very interesting case study of like what happens when you put high quality cells in these joints.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, we have our next question.
Hey, Bryan, really nice to have you joining us. I'm Ene Kusher. I'm the founder of new systems biology-based digital twin company together with Andrea Meyer and a few others. I have a question for you. So you have a really, really fantastic Blueprint protocol, which is a kind of a generic good guidance for majority, right? But we had a very good discussion earlier in this meeting where there was a look at kind of longer, kind of history back towards kind of our ancestral heritage, right? So going through periods of long duration of fasting during a cold winter where you're freezing, nearly half of the village dies. Then you go through a period in the spring where stem cells, come out, you have to hunt the rabbit, flee from the lion, then you gorge on some nice juicy meat. In the autumn you catch a mammoth and you get the fat and so on. So you have these cycles of growth, autophagy, repair, regrowth, and so on and so forth. What's your thought in terms of this kind of metabolic flexibility, right? Kind of going through periods of growth versus periods of cleaning up versus periods of, let's say, ketogenic versus, kind of protein. So in history, as we evolved as humans, we did not have like a standard protocol every single day that is kind of optimal for one, but it's kind of phases, right? What's your thought on that? And do you have kind of any personal versus kind of generic, because you can do a lot more when you're kind of biohacking on your own journey, right? Thanks.
Yeah. Did you say Christian Engelmeyer?
Andrea Meyer, Singapore. Chi longevity. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just a Christian. Okay, all right. Yeah. So first, I would say that cool that you're doing that. That's exciting. 2 is also my general disposition towards the world. And I guess what I've learned is to be very humble, that what we've done with Blueprint is a approach, but it's not the approach. There's many destinations. There are many paths to the same destination. So we really love to see other people doing different things to achieve similar results. I think it's great. I'll just give maybe 2 data points on what we have seen recently with our data. One is that I've been taking rapamycin for the past couple of years and just recently discontinued it. And when I discontinued it, my resting heart rate dropped by 20%. My HRV improved by 20%. And I had a pretty substantial improvement in overall well-being, that I had basically been suffering these side effects of Rapa for quite some time. And so there's just like this concept of like no good deed goes unpunished. Rapa is largely viewed as one of the best protocols to do. but I was paying a price in side effect with my HRV and my sleep quality. And so like, it just reminds us that we may be very, very early on in the stages of understanding system effects. And then number two is, we've been measuring my speed of aging using these DNA methylation clocks for the past 3 years. I think I'm the most measured DNA methylated person in the entire world. We've been doing weekly for the past couple of years. And it's been seen in many people that when you fast, your speed of aging drops. So I did a 3-day fast to test this hypothesis, and my speed of aging stayed exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so the hypothesis on the team is like, basically with my caloric restriction and my diet, I'm already in basically like a fasted state all the time, and there was no yield. Whereas others get like a 20% drop in speed-related DNA methylation patterns, I just got no effect. And so we are looking into like a ketogenic approach to say, like, if it's not fasting, can we like optimize it through another pathway, so ketogenic. So I just say in short, like, I love that you're doing it. I hope you find new pathways to do it. We're finding ourselves that like we're hitting maybe some of the limits of what my current protocol can do with like a relatively fasted state, low inflammation diet on my speed of aging. If we want to drop, because I'm 0.64 currently, if we want to drop to like 0.5 or 0.45, we need to find some new therapies, new pathways. So we're hungry to try to find new things to do. And also I'd say like another interesting data point is like my basal body temperature is 94.8 Fahrenheit. I don't immediately have that in Celsius, I'm sorry, but it's 4 degrees Fahrenheit lower than when I started 4 years ago. So my basal metabolic rate has dramatically dropped with this caloric restriction and coincided with my speed of aging drop.
So my question, my name is Alexander Tietzlatzer. I studied law and work in the German parliament. So my question is, if you could change something in regulation, what would it be? And at what place in the world do you think, apart from the US, or maybe you have an idea, where good research is possible?
Yeah. I just spent 10 days in Asia. We did a Don't Die Summit and then a bunch of other things. And my observation is that Don't Die and longevity may grow much faster in the East than the West. In the West, like in the US, we kind of have this maverick disposition towards debauchery and self-harm and like, drinking our soda and staying up late. Whereas in the East, it's much more community-minded and wellness-oriented. And Don't Die seems to have a lot more potential there. And so I would say that the research may follow hunger, where like who wants it more? And in the West, the appetite for health is generally resistant. Like people in the West really resist change of habits for more healthy options. In the East, I think people are more open to these kinds of pathways. So my bet is it's going to be in the East that we'll see a lot more progress in longevity, just because there's more acceptance of this. So that's my guess. And then overall, you guys, I'm sure all of you are doing amazing things. I hope we can do amazing things together. We're a very, very, very small group of people who care deeply about this topic. And I think it's really important that we form a strong community, that we do this together. I'm guessing that, many of you have been working in this field for decades, and I appreciate you for all of your contributions that I've benefited from. So I'm glad to be part of this. I'm glad to be here with you, and let's band together, because I think this really is the next global thing that will come about.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the question, Bryan. A couple of years ago, saw you speak also the same way via Zoom to the Dublin Longevity Summit, and I thanked you at that time for being willing to be an N of one. And I still really feel that way, and I'm really excited to hear that you just continue to make the information available to everybody, whether it's a positive or a negative result. Just wonderful, and everything that you just said was part of a conversation that I was in earlier with the doctor that you just spoke with as well. So it was just exciting. Thank you for continuing that work. And my question for you is, a couple of us have spoken today about longevity and its potential to be considered a human right. And you are really working toward that as much as you can, right? Being an N of one and with the Don't Die movement. I'm sorry I missed you in San Francisco. I was traveling. Next time. But what are your thoughts on what we can do both to help you in your efforts, which I asked you in Dublin, but also all of us can do in terms of moving the needle on how people think about longevity? The example given by one of my fellow speakers, Alex, who just asked you a question, was climate change. We all think that climate change, protecting us from the negative effects of climate change, is a human right, and people are fighting for that, but they're not fighting for health as a human right. And by the way, to your question that you posed to all of us, I want to be one of those. I envision us as energy spheres. I want to be around when that happens. And so thank you for asking that question as well.
Yeah. Thank you for your kindness. I really appreciate you. Yeah, let me show you an image. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. This encapsulates everything in one slide.
So the speed of artificial intelligence growth, yeah?
Exactly. So basically, the tools we have right now are good as roughly a person who's smart in high school. In the next few years, just in like 2-3 years, these AI systems will be as intelligent as our best AI researchers. That means AI will be as good at developing itself as we are in developing it today. And you don't have to make any jumps to believe this. This is just a basic continuation of the model development that's happening today. So whether you're bearish or bullish on AI, this progress on the current path is an unfathomable change of intelligence in just a few years' time. And we can't even begin to wrap our minds around this. And this is why in this very precious moment that we spend together, we of course could talk about sleep protocols or about like exercise or optimal this or that. And that's why I choose these abstract ideas, because what I'm suggesting is when intelligence emerges and like we see the shock it creates in society, like when these AI systems start becoming better at us at all things, we humans are going to say, what now? What do we do? Who's in charge? Who has power? Who keeps security? Who verifies identity? Like all these really basic questions about society that we've resolved that now come up in the air. And as we do this, what I'm hoping is that Don't Die becomes the primary vector for all of our systems. So like our new economic system is Don't Die economically, politically, Don't Die morally, ethically, socially, spiritually. That we basically say that when you're giving birth to superintelligence, who has answers? Okay, democracy, help us out. Capitalism, help us out. Religions, help us out. No existing structure in society can answer it. And so what we're trying to do, this is the goal, is by 2027, that 1 billion of us self-identify with Don't Die. You can do that in private, you can do that in public, but that we basically say that existence is the highest virtue. That Don't Die is the most played game by every human on this planet every second of every day. In fact, Don't Die is the single thing in existence that we humans agree upon, that we don't want to die right now. That's it. We don't agree on anything else. So when you talk about this alignment problem, how do you align humans and Earth and AI into one thing? Don't Die is the single memetic that passes the criteria. There's no other memetic in existence that actually survives it. And so Don't Die is basically trying to become the operating system for the human race. Now, there's all kinds of ethical and moral complications. Like, for example, if you have $1 to spend on Don't Die, who gets it? Yes, like Don't Die does not solve all things. It just solves the general direction. Just like democracy, when the US went from monarchy of the British to democracy, it wasn't like we had established, we'd solved all answers in democracy. It was just like, we're going to change our form of government. We vote ourselves in instead of being run by this monarch. Don't Die is a very similar thing. So yeah, I'm suggesting here that in our small corner of the galaxy, we are playing the most consequential game that's maybe even happened in this space. And it's our moment to capture it. So that's what this is really about. And these basic habits we have on a daily basis, like it aligns us all that we do want this.
That's really great. And we're really happy to have you here and that you told us these words. Yes, we will try to don't die, and we will continue our effort to spread the idea around and to together achieve our common goal.
Wonderful to see you, friends. Thank you for all your work. I hope to see you around.
Thank you, Bryan.
Be well.
Bye.